Hi everyone, welcome to my guide on how to install and set up RetroArch on the Xbox One, and that's X or S, Series X, etc. So yeah, this first part of the video I've just re-recorded quickly because I initially just mentioned in the comments how to get the links that you're going to need on the Xbox in order to download the apps. But I've had a few people in the comments asking whether I can actually do a quick add to the video and show how to do that. So that's what this part is. So I'm going to take this part, put it into the video at the beginning, and then rather than recording the whole lot, just redo the first bit. So yeah, basically the links, as I mentioned in the comments, come from Discord. So there's a Discord server running that has all the links and information in it, etc. So basically, for those that haven't used Discord or don't know what it is, it's basically a social media platform where you can basically join servers on certain subjects, and those servers are then split into categories around sort of general chat, help, rules, that kind of stuff. So think of Facebook and Facebook groups. A Discord server is the same thing as a Facebook group. So if someone says join my group, in Discord they say join our Discord server, and in this case it's Gamer 13's one for Xbox, for emulation on Xbox. So basically in the description you'll see the Discord link, which is basically an invite of how to get into their channel. So yeah, so for Discord itself, I'm doing it here on my PC in a browser, but as you see they've got an app for Windows. There's obviously apps for your mobile phones as well, for iOS and Android, so you can do it all on your phone if you want to. But just for ease of recording it, I'm just going to open it in a browser here. So obviously the first thing you would normally do is obviously sign up, create a free account, and then also using the link in the description, the invite, click on that and it will basically pop up saying, here's your invite to the server, can you accept it, and you're in. And so I've got a few different servers and groups, servers or groups that I'm a member of. And here's the Xbox Emulation Hub, that's the one we want. So again, as mentioned in the description, so you see the servers kind of split down into different, I guess, sections or areas. I don't know what you call these, but I guess they're channels. So there's one at the beginning called rules. Probably a good idea to read that. I guess similar to Facebook. That's stuff you can and can't do or shouldn't do. And here it mentions about not sharing the links outside, which is why I haven't put it in my video. And you need to come here to get the links. Okay, basically just to protect everyone. So yeah, have a quick read of those first, and then, like I say, what you want to do is come down to the announcements bit. You go to the app status first. So this is where it tells you whether the links are available, because as I mentioned before, they get put up and then Microsoft find them and take them down again, and then they'll put them up again. So this just gives you the status. So you can see at the moment it's orange, which means there are links up, but only for patrons. So Patreon is kind of like a donation type system, where you can kind of sponsor the guy, pay as little as £1 a month to contribute. Obviously, each time the guy does this and uploads the apps and put apps onto the Microsoft Store, he needs to buy a developer account, and it costs him money and stuff. So if you appreciate it, you can become a patron and pay probably £1 or a couple of dollars, whatever it might be, per month to help support him. So at the moment, if you are a patron, you can get the links. The generally available ones aren't there at the moment, and if it's red it means they're all down. So at the moment, like I say, it's orange. So you can either donate and get the links, or wait, just come revisit this a couple times a day, or just wait, and eventually it does change quite quickly. Once this goes green, then the links are working. So in here, they're not there at the moment, but obviously because they're not available. But once they are available and this is green, in here you'll see a post, normally by I think Gamer 13 himself, and it will basically have a little section. It will be a bit bigger than this, but it will list different apps. So there'll be, under tools, there'll be things like the FTP client or the FTP server, that you install on the Xbox, and that's what you use to upload games onto your Xbox. And then there'll be a section underneath listing out the different apps you can get. So there's RetroArch, there's SSPP for PSP. I think there's a copy of Flycast. There's a couple of different emulators and apps that they've ported across to the Xbox. And it'll basically list them in a little post, and after each one will be the tiny URL that you need. And I think they give you an alternate one as well, just in case the first one's not working. So that's where you get them from. This is what the Discord server looks like. That's how you get them. Once you've got them, you then take those links over to your Xbox, and carry on. So I'll go back to the main video now. I'll probably end up repeating myself a little bit when I start talking about the apps and stuff and where to get them, but obviously now I've put this bit in, you can actually see what it looks like, how to get the Discord server. And like I say, yeah, you basically go to Discord, check this status, make sure that goes green. Once that's green, go to retail announcements, and then you'll see the post with the links in and grab them from there. There's a whole bunch of other useful information in here. Obviously, there's stuff around running RetroArch on the Xbox in dev mode as well, if you're interested in that. I think that involves basically you can I think you have to pay, but you can get a developer account basically for the Xbox, and that then allows you to put your Xbox into development mode. And once you're doing that, then installing RetroArch, you don't need all to faff around with the links and downloading special links and apps to do it. It's kind of opens up the Xbox a bit more. It's meant for developers. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of information in there around that, and their own guides and other bits and pieces. So it's worth having a look at the other stuff. Like I say, probably quite important to read the rules. You don't want to get kicked off the server, because then obviously you won't have the links anymore. So yeah, that's it. I'm now going to cut back to the rest of the video. First step is to open up your Edge browser on your Xbox. A little bit fiddly with the controls, but it should be fairly straightforward. Now there's some addresses we're going to type in here. I've blurred them out. They're basically because the source we get them from, obviously their rules are not to share them outside of the source being their Discord server. So I'll put some details in the description, but basically you can go there and get these links. They do change from time to time. The apps are hosted, and every so often Microsoft will take them down, but then fairly quickly they'll pop back up. But once you've installed the app, then it's installed. Even if the app's taken down, come back up again, it doesn't matter. Once you've got it installed on your Xbox, you're fine, unless of course you uninstall them or you reset your Xbox. Then you have to just go through this process again. And as you'll see in the video, it's pretty quick. So you basically type in the first address, hit go. It prompts you it wants to open up the store, which it does here, and you basically just click install like you would any other app. So see, this is RetroArch, the first one. On their Discord server, you'll see there's a whole bunch of different apps you can download and other emulators, but we're just going to focus on RetroArch at the moment. So that's now downloading, installing. Go back to the Edge browser quickly, and the second one we need is actually a utility, an FTP utility, and this is what we're going to use to transfer games and some other files onto the Xbox. So again, you type in the URL from the source. Obviously I've blurred it all out here, and then the same thing should happen again once you've typed it in and hit enter. There's a little pop-up box saying that the URL wishes to open up the store. Apologies, my typing's obviously quite slow. It's a bit tricky on the old gamepad, but there we go. See, so wants to open up the store, just say OK, or say open. Opens up the store, and like I say, this one's the FTP program, so file transfer protocol, for those that haven't used it before. And same thing again, click on OK. It'll say install, and then you can go to your download queue. You see, RetroArch is nearly 1.6 gig in size. My internet connection isn't the quickest, so it's going to take a few minutes to download, but we'll just skip on. Right, so that's done now. So now first to do is, before we put any games on, launch RetroArch for the first time. There's a tiny bit of setup to do, not much though. It's fairly straightforward, as you'll see. So this loads the basic default interface. Not the most attractive, but there's a few bits to add on. So you go into the online updater. There's a few options there for dev mode only. Obviously we're in retail mode here, so we basically want to come down to here and basically update each of these. Just click on each one with the A button in turn. I've skipped over cheats, and I have sped up this video slightly because obviously speeding my link. I've skipped over cheats because it's fairly big, but obviously you can download that as well. Just basically work your way down from First one where it says update core info files, work your way down, click on each one, and as you'll see, it will download a zip file containing whatever it is you clicked on. Once it's downloaded, it'll basically extract them in place. So it'll work its way down, and you'll see in a second, once it's finished downloading the assets.zip, and the assets is things like the menus and icons and that's kind of bits and pieces to make it look nicer. You'll see once it's done that, it will quickly, or the screen will go blank, and then RetroArch almost kind of reloads, which it should do any second now. There we go. See my nice reflection. And there we go. See, it's slightly better now. You know, nicer fonts, some icons there going on. So that's the main update done. Now I'd just like to go, before we start putting the games on, I'll just go into the settings here and just change the interface slightly. I mean, you don't have to do this bit. This is just my preference. I think it's an easier layout. So we scroll way down to user interface, and then we've got the menu. So there's a couple of different options here. I like XMB. It looks a bit like the PlayStation 3 cross media bar. And then if we go back up to media item visibility, this is basically where you can choose what items are shown on the menu, and I do turn a couple off. Things like images and music, I turn those off just to make the interface less cluttered, because I mean obviously you can leave them on, turn anything else off, that's up to you, but I just like to turn those two off just to make it a little bit easier to navigate. And then once that's done, go back to main menu there, go to configuration file, and we're just going to save the config, because we've made changes, we don't want to lose them, so save current config, and it writes it out to retroarch.cfg. And then we can quit RetroArch, and then we just wait a second to let it close completely, and then relaunch again. And now we should have the new interface, the XMB. Obviously this is on the original Xbox Series S and X will probably be a bit quicker. So now actually a much nicer interface, much easier to read, in my opinion. But anyway, you can play around with the other options. Now go back into the user interface, and background I'm just checking is turned on. That's for later on. We can do a bit more customization, but that's possibly a different video. But what I also like to do is scroll further down here, and you've actually got the actual colour, the theme colour. So change from purple to dark, and you'll see in a minute that I'm going to set a background picture, and the dark just kind of suits it better. So again, that's done for now. There's a whole bunch of other options in there, and for those that haven't used RetroArch before or just dabbled with it, it can look a little bit daunting, all these various options. But you know, on the whole part, you can probably ignore those. All we really need to do is add games and add a playlist, really. So just again, configuration file and save current config. You probably don't need to do it as often as I'm doing it here. It's just from experience. You know, when I first started playing this, RetroArch didn't always close properly. So you know, it doesn't close, it doesn't save the config properly. So that's why I do it so often. So anyway, so now it's time to put some games on. So as you saw there, just drop back to the Xbox menu and then start the FTP program. And then literally you need to go down and just click on the start. And now we move over to the PC. So now we're on the PC, we just need an FTP client to copy stuff across. I recommend this one, FileZilla. It's completely free, it's probably one of the most popular ones out there. And you see there's a download link there for the client for all platforms. So just download the one that corresponds to the platform you're on. Also on Windows here, you could be on obviously Mac or Linux or whatever. So yeah, there's the address up there, filezilla-project.org, but also again I'll put that in the description. So we'll click to download that and install it. I already have it, so cheat a little bit and fast forward. So here it is already installed. Just bring it into view properly. So it's quite simple. As I say, FTP, file transfer protocol. The left hand pane shows my local PC and the various drivers I've got mapped. And then the right-hand pane will display the Xbox, you know, whatever device you happen to connect to. So I've actually got it already added, but I'll show you how to add that. So it's now connected, and then now that is the contents of the Xbox on the right hand side. So to add that, you go to Site Manager. You can see I've already got it set in here, but you just click on the new site button, type in a name for it, and then basically fill in the details on the right hand side. You only need to worry about the general tab. Yeah, I'm just trying to sort of show them side by side that it won't let me save that one until I put some details in. So forget that idea, just cancel it, go back in, and basically you want to just create a new entry that matches this. So under protocol, you've got FTP. There are a couple of options under there, yeah, SFTP and the other one. So, but just pick FTP. The host name is the IP address. That's the IP address displayed on the Xbox on the FTP app. You'll see it. Port can be left blank because it's default port 21. I need to change that. Anonymous is a logon type. Sorry. So normally, you might want to put username and password in, but with this, where we've got the allow anonymous ticked on the Xbox, you basically just log in without a password. It's fine. We're not going to leave it running for too long. So yeah, back to the contents of the Xbox. You're going to go to the local folder folder, and this is where all the applications are installed. So the RetroArch and the FTP one will be installed in here. All got slightly weird names, but if you sort the column last modified, you'll be able to see the last ones installed, and that'll be these two. So the RetroArch should be the one with the slightly more recent date and time, and you can tell if you go into the local state folder, you'll see a RetroArch.cfg, so you know that's the folder the RetroArch is installed in. And just to confirm, I go into the other one, there's no other stuff in there. So that's just to show that it's a similar layout, but that's the FTP folder. So we'll go back to the first one. One's got the earliest date on it. Yeah, as I'm just showing there. This one's got slightly earlier date. It was installed just ahead of the FTP program, so that's another way to tell which one it is. So everything we do is stored in the local state folder. So you can see the assets that were downloaded are there, and all the other bits and pieces. So what we're going to do is now copy across some of the games. It's recommended to store them in this folder, not to store them outside, just because it can cause issues with permissions, and some calls might not load properly. The only limit being is that you're limited to 16 gig. Certainly, I'm not sure that may change on other models of Xbox, but on the original Xbox One, you're limited to 16 gig, so you can basically upload 16 gig worth of games, which should be fine. There's another option which you'll find on the Discord server for these guys, where you can put games onto a USB drive and plug that in, but I'll leave that for now. That's there's a guide on how to do that on their site. So on the left hand side, I'm just browsing to a set of games I've got for the Genesis, the Mega Drive. So on the right hand side, back on the Xbox, we're just going to create a folder in there called Games. So right click there and new directory, and we call it Games. Hit OK. And now it appears in the list there, so we'll just open that. And then the Genesis folder, we can either drag across or just right click and say upload. And there it goes, and you'll see the queue at the bottom there. Just adds all those files into the queue. There's roughly 100, and then you see it copying across. You'll see down in the right hand corner you've got the size of the queue in meg, and then there's a couple of tabs there, files that are queued, the failed ones, and ones that are successful. Hopefully you won't see any in failed transfers. The good thing about this is it does them individually, so if any do fail, if you have a network glitch or something like that, they'll go into the failed transfer queue, and you can just right click and say retry or re-queue, and it will just pick up the ones it failed on, so you don't have to start from scratch again. So I skipped forward very slightly there, but they've all finished copying across, and then you should see them in the games folder. So just coming out of the folder, go back into the folder. Doesn't always show up first time, so this is me just coming back out and going back in again. But if they don't show up, just right click and refresh, and there we go, pops up in now. And then open that just to double check, confirm there, and there's the it's roughly the top 100 games that are compiled for Mega Drive. This is FTP is what you'd use if you then take it a step further and start putting some artwork in, some box art, that kind of stuff, which I will do, as I said, in another video. But for now, one thing I just wanted to quickly do is just copy across a background picture. I think it looks quite neat. And it's an Xbox theme picture as well, so yeah, it looks pretty cool. So that's it for FTP. We've transferred some games over and just copied an image file across to use as a backdrop. So now I can go back to the Xbox, stop FTP, and now back into RetroArch. Just takes a couple of seconds to load. And there you go. Right, now we're back in, and then just the first thing I'll do, just my personal preference, back into that user interface, appearance, and then pick the background image. So again, scroll to the bottom, you'll have the local folder where RetroArch exists. Go into there, and in the root of there we have the picture that I copied across. So we just pick that, and it sets the background. So yeah, it looks good. Quite a fitting picture. I quite like that. So anyway, what we need to do next is we've copied those games across, but we need to add them in onto the menu, and you do that in the form of a playlist. So basically, this is the way I do it. I'm sure there's other ways of doing it, but I go down to the manual scan. Content folder is the folder we want to scan. So we go right to the bottom, into the RetroArch folder, into games, into Genesis, and then pick scan this folder. And right a couple of seconds, it will scan the folder. Sorry, when we add it. So now we need to go and pick a name for the playlist, and you can use the folder name, but it's better to use the built-in names, which I'm just picking here. So that's the system name. So that you can do custom name. I say ignore that. Use one of the built-in system names. And then the other option, there's a whole bunch of other options here, which you probably can just leave, and then click Start Scan. The other options are things like if you've got games inside a zip file, if it's an arcade set, you can use that file to pull in more information about each game. But there we go, it's created a new playlist called Mega Drive Genesis. There's all the games listed in. So that's pretty much it. You can now just off you go. You got your first playlist, and obviously just repeat the process for other systems that you're adding. Just FTP them across into their own folder under the games folder. So now I'm just going to play one. It's going to recommend some calls that's compatible, so I'd like to pick that one. Once it's done that, it's associated that, and then you can go back and click play again. And with a bit of luck, away you go. So there is Earthworm Jim, Mega Drive. Yeah, it looks nice, full screen. Obviously, for advanced users, there's other options. You can change the screen size, the aspect ratio, all that kind of stuff, and shaders, etc. But to get you up and running, this is all you need. This is the default. As you can see, I'm quite bad at this game, but it works pretty well. And then to actually exit, normally you should double check, but there's a hotkey button to bring up this in-game menu that you can then pause or resume or exit the game. So I'm just going here to show where that is, just to double check it's set, and obviously it was for me. But if you scroll down to input, or scroll up or down to input, and then come down this list, and there will be hotkeys. And then in here you've got the quick menu toggle with start and select. If you clicked on that, you could, there's a other bunch of key combinations you can pick, but start and select works pretty well for me, so that's why I leave it on. And then I'm just going to go down and try, another game, just to make sure it works. So here again, a quick play, it's going to ask you which emulator you want to associate with that game, and pick the same one. So I tend to use one, I find it works best. Yeah, the Genesis Plus GX Wide. And then that's me accidentally clicking on the rename. If you wanted to, you could rename the game in the playlist. But I think I just hit the key accidentally there, so just working out how to get out of there. So now the core association is set. So basically, which core, which emulator you want to use, away you go. So what we do is we could have done it when we created the playlist, but what you can do, rather than picking it for each game, is you can quit out and you can go back to and actually modify the playlist and set a default core for the whole playlist. So go back to that settings menu, right down the bottom, not quite at the bottom, is playlists. In the moment, obviously, we've only got the one in there. So we just go to manage playlists, click on the Mega Drive one, default core, and we'll scroll all the way down to S for Sega. I'll probably go too far. And there it is, there's all the other ones. So yeah, the Genesis wide. Click on that. Now that's the default core for that playlist. Obviously you can reset it, you want to change it. A few other bits there you want to change. So now what it means is that that's now the core searcher with all the games in that playlist. So now we can go and pick a game and it will no longer prompt you for which core to use. It will use the one you've just set. And away you go. So that's pretty much it. That's it up and running. That's it installed. First system added. First playlist created. So yeah, that's it. And then another option, just to to make it a bit cleaner on the interface, or if you've got kids using it, you can turn kiosk mode on, which basically simplifies the interface and hides a lot of the options. So, like I say, you've got kids using it, they can't mess anything up. So you basically just set a password, which allows you to remove kiosk mode or come out of kiosk mode. So just set 123 as a quick demo. There's a note there about disabling it, you need to restart. So what we'll do is basically test that in a second. Go into configuration again to save the settings before we exit. But you can see there that you've got the save configuration on quit turned on, which you probably want, just in case you forget to save it. So now we just exit it, give it a couple of seconds, go back in. And now we're in kiosk mode. So now a lot of the options are now disappeared. A lot of, to change the settings, the actual settings menu itself is gone. So it's a lot neater interface. And like I say, you've got kids using it; they can't muck about. And then obviously when you reach that point, if you want to come back out of kiosk mode, go back to normal mode. You click on the disable option there. It'll prompt you for the password. In our case, it's 123. And we enter that. Gives you a little notification saying password correct, and then if you quit, give it a couple of seconds, relaunch again, you'll be back into the normal mode, back out of kiosk. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'll be releasing a video very soon on how to customize RetroArch further, both for Xbox and other platforms, so keep an eye out for that, and thank you, goodbye.